Let's go to Equalizer calling from California. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Equalizer.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
What's on my mind? Well, amid all the confusion and chaos and whatnot, another topic I'd like to talk about is the police brutality and the SWATs getting the wrong house and murdering people. I think that, I think people need to start shooting back. They need to start shooting to kill because, it's beyond the point of, of recognition, I believe. I believe that this is not America, and it's gone from something that maybe could turn around, but, most people are sitting on their ass watching their TV right now, and they don't care. So I think that people that are patriots, if they don't want to be slaughtered by the Nazis, and they ought to shoot to kill.
Well, let me ask you. Okay, so I mean, it would be you would agree that it's aggressive to just go out in the streets and kill a cop. You're talking about cops coming into your house
I'm talking about in general. This is war. They're enemy soldiers. If they decide that they want to be all moral and be constitutional, they get kicked out before they leave being a rookie. So they have to. They have no choice but to be corrupt.
So just to be clear, you are just arguing people go out and start shooting police. You realize how crazy that is?
I don't care if it's crazy. They murder people.
It's
suicidal. They can throw a flashbang. No,
it's suicidal. If you're going to go out and start killing cops, you might as well just go ahead and off yourself because you're going to be dead real fast.
You'll cause less misery, too.
I'm curious what end you're seeking. What's your end vision looking like? I mean, what's your goal?
What's my end vision? It's called justice. That's what our founding fathers did. They said no to corrupt tyrants. They were sick and tired of the abuse of the redcoats. At what point do people say enough's enough?
Well, okay, so let's say you've got a bunch of dead cops in the road. Now what? Freedom?
Now what? That's less people that can murder innocent civilians and say, "Oh, I thought he had a gun."
But you just murdered. You just murdered people, according to the vision.
Is it your belief, Equalizer, that all cops are tantamount to murderers?
No, I believe that the majority are, though, also because they have to serve the elite. They're policymen. They're not peace officers.
But just to be clear, you just said that you don't believe all cops are murderers, yet you are advocating for the killing of police. You said in general.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
I'm advocating for self-defense. That's absolutely self-defense. It's got to a point where...
You're saying if you just went out on the streets right now and blasted a cop away, that you would call that self-defense?
Well, and I believe it's got to that point in society. I believe that, absolutely.
Let me ask you, you've drawn up the Founding Fathers here, and I think that their corpses are being drug up in vain. So first off, if the Founding Fathers fought for whatever they fought for, and the result is what we have today. So
no, well, see, we've slid away from what they envisioned.
I don't know who he is.
It's been gone. The dream's been gone probably for 100 years plus. I think the Civil War ended it.
I'm pretty sure the dream was gone for every black person in America the moment that the power changed hands. However,
that's a damnable lie.
It's a damnable lie, is it?
Some of the biggest and richest slave owners were black. That skipped out of history.
A few in Louisiana, that's true. In in the 1800s, I mean, there were some prior to that were
everybody uses
this. Can we get back to the whole killing?
Okay, yeah, let's forget about that. So let's point out for a second, we're talking about Canada. Canada just raided they never fought a Revolutionary War, and I don't even know of a single rebellion that occurred in Canada. I'm sure I'll get an email on that relatively quickly. But look, they're higher on the economic freedom charts than the United States. Maybe the course to freedom is sticking with the status quo.
I don't think so. Maybe the status quo should keep sitting on their couch watching TMZ, and then they're going to complain, "Oh, why don't I have any freedom?" if they care. See, here's the problem.
You're not going to get freedom by shooting people.
It's a damnable lie. It's got to.
One more damnable lie. Listen to this. Now. Here's some damnable truth for you. The fact is that non-violent revolutions are 3 times more successful than violent ones. That is the damnable truth. Go look it up.
And aren't non-violent revolutions getting more effective as time goes on?
They're more effective over time. In 1900, they were twice as effective. By the year 2000, they were near 3 times as effective. They'll get more effective over time because the government's got more better guns than you. As soon as they think you're a problem, they're going to drop a Hellfire missile on your house before you ever get out with a gun in your hand.
I'd like to go back to Derek J's question sort of scenario for Equalizer. So, okay, you've got some dead cops in the street. Now what? What's your next move?
What? That's a few less dead enemy. They're not cops. Let's not call them what they're not peace officers. They're enemy soldiers. That's what they're.
Well, I know these are human beings, and I suspect somebody like you either actually believe everything you say, or you're actually an agent provocateur from the federal government.
Well, he's obviously chicken.
Oh, you know
he
what?
wants other people to do it, not him.
Either way, well, I wouldn't goad somebody into this, Mark.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
chicken is the obvious.
How many people do you need to be on board before the killing begins?
You need millions and millions.
A million. You need a million people being willing to kill.
You make the assumption that there's not already. What about these militias? What about all the people out there in the Tea Party? What about all the people in the Tea Party that are sick and tired of having their human rights stepped on by
what is everybody waiting for then? If this is the solution,
a lot of these Republicans, all the Tea Party is a bunch of Republicans, and a lot of these Republicans' kids work for the police force.
That's a damn. Well, you know what?
Not condemnable lie.
I want to know when your line was crossed, because you seem pretty angry about this. What was the straw that broke the camel's back for you?
Well, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back, it's a bunch of stuff. Okay, I don't get where we the people have become the slave and not the person that's the. I thought it's we the people are in control of stuff, not we the government. I mean, our founding fathers would have declared war 10 times. The criminals are running things, not the other way around. And just because under color of law you wear a badge and do that, that doesn't make you any less than a criminal. I mean, what gives somebody a right, whether they're wearing this and that costume or not, to do evil things?
I agree with those views.
The founding fathers gave those rights to people in funny costumes.
Well, I'd like to say that nobody gives other people rights. Rights are human, kind of just by your nature, something you should have.
Your God-given right.
So, Equalizer, we may agree on some of the philosophy here, but up to the point of action, and then we part ways. You want to take action that will result in loss of life, and you call them enemy soldiers or whatever, and these are my neighbors. I mean, here in Keene, New Hampshire, the police live around here, and they... they're human beings who you can actually connect with. Yeah, they're doing the wrong thing in some instances, but in some instances I have seen them act as peace officers and stop a fight from happening. So
the only exception to this rule is the constitutional sheriffs like Richard Mack and Shane Harder. And look at them. They stood against Big Brother, and guess what happened to him? He got framed for things he didn't do. So don't tell me that we have freedom and that the left is somehow...
I didn't tell you that you have freedom.
No, I wouldn't tell you you'd have freedom.
A moment.
I would, however, question you as to when you picked up and moved for the Free State Project.
I wish I could. I wish I had the money to move.
Oh, you don't have the money to do it, but you can go out and shoot somebody, sell a gun, and move.
Well,
millions and millions of people, are sick and tired, and just because it's not plainly obvious that that's happening.
Well, tell you what, Equalizer, why don't you let us know?
They're sick and tired, that's fine. But the fact is that the path that you're suggesting will be unsuccessful unless you can get a large percentage of the population.
Even Chris Cantwell knows that this is suicide. I mean, that's why he'll admit to you that he won't do this stuff.
Those sound cannons they can be used on them, just the same thing. All the police did want to MRAP stuff, and they want to pretend like this is Iraq.
What's your plan? Are you going to stand out in front of the police department with a sound cannon? I mean, how many people in your area do you need to move on this? Because you'll never know if you have 1 million people around the rest of the country.
Yep. You're going to need to write this out. Get yourself a legal pad. Start writing your plan out. And I want you to then you can set it down and look at it the next day and see if it doesn't look like a bunch of gobbledygook nonsense tirades by a madman.
We started out with a guy calling in, taking the absolutely outrageous position that the police should be shot. And I wanted to come back around to that because we did have Uber George call in on an unrelated subject. So I wanted to come back to that. About the idea of going after the police. This person was calling them enemy soldiers or enemy combatants or something like that. That these aren't human beings. These aren't our brothers and our sisters. These aren't our neighbors. These are these automatons.
The
these
redcoats.
He did use that term.
They're Hessians. Redcoats. They're hired guns.
And he was calling
I was watching, so there's a cartoon out there called Liberty Kids. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to diss it. But I was looking at how they...
Is this like a web cartoon? Or like
Jack's got it. I'm not sure. I think it was sent to us by one of our loving listeners. We get lots of things for Jack through the mail. And
nice.
It is nice. It's nice that people just send us clothes. It's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway,
anything my size?
No, but I've given you plenty, and I'm just too big for you to wear stuff. Anyway, they portrayed through most of this. They portrayed the redcoats as you would expect. They're the bad guys, and bad guys can't be good guys because they're bad guys.
Right.
Interestingly, there was a part in there with John Adams where he points out, he talks about the Boston Massacre, and he says, look, it wasn't revolutionary. The Boston Massacre was a bunch of drunk people throwing rocks at soldiers, and they defended themselves.
They say that on a kid's show?
No, but I think it was a rowdy group of drunks or something like that. They
Got
said
it.
It wasn't. The revolution's a pretty serious topic. And I don't know what kids get out of these things necessarily. Probably have to watch it a few times to really understand. But I thought it was interesting just how they just a little bit portrayed, these folks as human beings. But this is the thing is that it's so easy for us in narratives. It's so easy to create a good guy and a bad guy. Mm-hmm. And a bad guy's a bad guy can't be a good guy. And a good guy, well, we have to look over all of the bad things they've done.
Well, I mean, it's long been a tactic in war to dehumanize the opposition, right? Oh, they're not fellow human beings. They're just Japs. They're just Krauts. They're just fill in the the stereotypical insulting term, and that's what. So I'm not really sure where I was going with that. Oh, I know what I wanted to say about the people who are advocating, as our caller was earlier, advocating for just coming right out, basically, and advocating for killing police. He essentially shoved them all into the same category and suggested that they all deserve to die, and that they all deserve to die immediately, not like when they were attacking somebody or aggressing against somebody, which is what some people will couch their terms with. This guy was just coming right out and saying that. And I'd like to say about people like him, when they come into your group, if you are somebody who is an active participant in the spreading of the ideas of freedom, when someone like that guy comes into your group and starts talking about, hey, you ought to do, because again, he wasn't doing what he was suggesting other people ought to do. But, coming in and making those suggestions, you ought to start killing the police, et cetera, et cetera. Well, look out, because whether that person is or is not an agent provocateur, they're bad news. That particular viewpoint is incredibly dangerous. It's going to likely lead to people being arrested, possibly people being killed if they take this person seriously. And I think that you need to approach people like him with compassion, and don't come to the conclusion that, oh, it must be an agent provocateur. It could just be an angry libertarian.
What do you think the percentage chance is?
Or an angry.
What do you think the percentage chance is?
That it's an agent versus just somebody who's upset?
I mean, I understand this is wild speculation.
I have no idea.
I would say like 90% people well-intentioned, just not thought through. Like, this guy sounded like he had all the right principles, all the right ideas, except for follow-through. Like, come up with a plan for enhancing your own freedom. I'm with that. I'm down for that goal. But, killing people, that shows you've run out of ideas. When you resort to violence, you've run out of ideas.
And it seems like most people don't have any ideas between obeying and then killing, right? Like, nobody considered not paying taxes. How about not, let's, opt out of the system, not following the regulations, doing agorism, operating outside of, the government control apparatus, not getting licenses, begging permission of bureaucrats. These are all things that we can do, and we can immediately achieve more freedom from doing them in our own personal lives and with our family. And Mark actually brought it up. If you love freedom ostensibly, why not move to New Hampshire? Why not join the Free State Project? Come up here. The political system may be totally useless where you live, but not in New Hampshire. You can actually have liberty-minded people get elected here. So
I'm not
different.
exactly. I'd like him to take a few deep breaths before he picked up and moved. But he did seem to have reasonably good ideas on liberty. But he was clearly very angry, very upset, and I can understand. I've been upset.
I've been there. Yeah.
And I've been angry, and I probably still am pretty angry, but I want to, I try to get control of myself. It's not like I haven't in the last year thought the way he did for a moment in time. But I understand that is a system that isn't going to work. And what I want to know is if you're so upset that you're proposing picking up weapons and shooting government agents of any sort, have you done anything else?
Right.
Have you done anything of value? Because I'm telling you today that isn't going to work, that you're going to give everything you've got to get nothing, and probably achieve less of what it'd be a negative effect on what you want to achieve.
Right. I hope you don't have kids, that are counting on you for something, or somebody at a workplace who's counting on you for things, because you'd essentially be leaving them in the lurch, because you're going to be dead when you start going around shooting police.
I think the right solutions start with exercising one's imagination. There's not enough imagination in this world, so you could start making the world a better place by dreaming it. That's step one.
Yeah, well, I guess there is some imagination involved in thinking about deadly plots against your fellow man, but I think that there's not much effort that you have to put in.
No, there
to that
isn't,
sort of
because
thing.
We asked him, then what? And he didn't have an answer.
No.
Well, I mean, it's the feeding the white dog, feeding the black dog analogy. There's a black dog and a white dog within each man, and which one wins? The one you feed. When you sit there and you scheme about polishing
the poor
your gun.
black dog. I mean, they always get the bad end of things.
I understand.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.